Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force podcast. My name is Rachael and I'm your host. And today I'm really excited to be joined by my guest, Hannah. So Hannah is a founder of an emerging wedding planning tool, and she is an accidental founder. So she turned a frustrating COVID wedding into a fast-growing startup. So we're going to be talking about her journey, her product development, her mindset as being a founder, even though she was never planning on being one, and the future of really simplifying weddings, because I think a lot of women out there are juggling a lot: careers, motherhood, and planning a wedding and taking care, being caretakers, a family member, and everything else is just, it's a lot. So I think this is going to be really interesting to learn how she did it during COVID, and then also how this tool is going to help. So thank you so much for being here, Hannah. I appreciate having you.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm excited to talk about everything with you.
Yeah. So tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and like what led you up into before you became a founder.
Yes. So let's see. Before I was a founder, I was in business school at the University of Washington here in Seattle. And I had just come from my former life at Carta, which is an equity management platform, unicorn startup. I was there from just after their Series A all the way to Series F, G, way down the alphabet. So about 140 employees down to, 1,000 plus employees. So I saw crazy growth, explosive kind of startup environment. And that whole premise was about bringing together a diverse set of stakeholders in the context of private equity, but needing to have a hub, a central place to manage complex information across many different people. So when I entered my kind of engagement world and wedding planning, I felt immediately like there were so many parallels between the complex project management and systematic organization of the private equity space with cap tables and planning a wedding, which you might think would be totally, the furthest things apart. But there was so many parallels. And over the course of our wedding planning journey, my husband and I just kept saying to each other, why is this so hard? 2.5 million people get married in the United States every year, but it felt like we were really reinventing the wheel, and we sent spreadsheets back and forth to one another. We were text editing our credit card into a PDF. You have over 50 pages of email inbox threads, and it was nuts. So being in business school at the time, my mind is, thinking through complex problems. And is this a me problem or more of a chronic thing that many couples were going through? So I launched out into a whole investigation and research to figure out, are many people dealing with this or just us in the process? And the resounding answer was, this is a chronic problem across the wedding planning world. And there are a lot of things out there to kind of help with little pieces along the way, but there was truly no hub and place for couples and their support system, professional or personal, to really project manage, collaborate, and have that place to keep everything organized. So that's what I sought out to build, and we have built, and we're out here growing like crazy, bringing on people every day and just growing new features weekly. So the growth has been crazy and wonderful, and we're riding the roller coaster.
I mean, I love that. What is the product called that you can utilize?
It's called Plannered. So within Plannered, you have your hub, your dashboard of all the different wedding related things. So guest list, to-do list, budget, timeline, and we're adding new components every week, literally, to help round out that true soup to nuts, most comprehensive journey that couples are on over the course of their planning. So we want to be able to eliminate that very chaotic feeling. I think the most tabs I've seen in a spreadsheet was 51 tabs in a wedding planning spreadsheet. And what starts as such great intentions to be organized can quickly become just this overwhelming experience. Yeah. So I say this to my team and to everyone, I feel like almost every day, but frustrating wedding planning does not have to be this rite of passage where everyone says, oh yeah, like that's just how it is. It just has to be frustrating. But I refuse to believe that. You can have an empowering journey and the big day can be fun, but you want to enjoy this chapter of your life. It doesn't have to be like white knuckling through stress to have one amazing day. It can also be enjoyable along the way as well.
Well, it should be enjoyable. Like you're merging two lives and you're in love, and I've never done it, but others do. It should be this really special moment that like you see in the movies, and both should be participating and, making it this magical thing. And I think people from, never a bride, but always a bridesmaid here. And the amount of times that I have friends who are planning these things, and they're like, well, we hired somebody, but she doesn't get our vision. She's not like, they're not doing this correctly. The communication's different, especially if it's an international destination wedding with the language barriers and culture barriers. They're expecting like Americanized timelines, and they're not obviously going to get that in other countries. And I think they then end up taking it over themselves. But just the idea of taking it over themselves even if it's a small wedding, you have grandeur plans for your wedding, and making sure everything goes off with a hit. And I wouldn't want to have a wedding where then during the wedding, all I'm worrying about is what everybody else is thinking. I would be like, this is about me. It's my day. Mm-hmm. And my husband. But like, it's my day. And, I want to have this go as smooth as possible. What are some of the top things when you were planning your wedding where you didn't even realize it was something you either should have been planning for or thought about, or you're like, what?
Yes, I think a big one that comes to mind is the timeline, where you're thinking about, okay, I know that I need to plan out what will the kind of run of show look like. And our amazing wedding planner took the lead on this in many different areas. But we went in a bit of a crazy direction, which was I had, I think, either 11 or 12 bridesmaids, and my husband had 13 groomsmen. It was like a football team situation. Our vision was like big party, invite everyone, have it be just like partying from dawn to dusk. So we had huge wedding parties, bridal party, which meant that there was a lot of communicating amongst those people in terms of hair and makeup schedule. Where are you staying? How are you getting places? When do I need to be somewhere? When is my toast? When am I walking down the aisle? All the different logistical things throughout the day. So I ended up, you have your Google Doc, you have emails, you have texts, you are calling people.
We have too many forms of communication.
So many forms. And then at the end of the day, it's the day before and your people are thinking, okay, like what was that thing I needed to remember? So that was something I had in mind really distinctly, thinking about, okay, the timeline is a piece that can be, it's not just about the day and the couple planning it, but it's also about that collaborative aspect of who needs to know that information. So we made sure that that can be something that's easily shared. It can be, you're letting people in on what they need to know and empowering them with that information so that it doesn't have to be like last minute running around trying to figure out where to be or what to do. It can just be smooth and enjoyable, memorable, and all the things. So that was one from my own experience for sure.
I love that. And do you feel like wedding planners should be able to use this also to help them? What if a bride just is like, not for me. I don't want to, like, this is my vision. Please make it come to life.
Definitely. So we like to say the support system, either professional or personal, totally applicable. If you are the kind of bride who's in that DIY camp and you're going for it yourself, maybe budget doesn't allow for a planner, or maybe you just have that day of coordinator person, bring in your maid of honor or your mom to help and delegate out. On the pro wedding planner side, definitely bringing in their portfolio of clients to use it as their professional hub to be able to coordinate amongst clients. So we have wedding planners coming to us from lots of different phases of their own career. There's some who are, up and coming, and they want a way to differentiate their service in the field and be able to immediately elevate the service that they can offer to their clients. And our platform allows them to do that. And then also on the flip side, planners who are more seasoned, who are relying on some of these older school, more manual processes, running their business in spreadsheets and documents that they're having to manually update. We can help them come in, refresh their system so that they can better infuse their expertise into a system that can help automate certain things so they're not having to spend time with a lot of busy work or things that can be more systematically repeatable, so that they can be focusing on the higher touch customer service aspect with their clients, delivering that high touch service. So across the pro spectrum, it can take a lot of different forms.
And as you've been developing this, and like you said, things are coming on each week and there's updates and things like that, are you getting a lot of like real time feedback from human actual brides and like the planners, or, and I'm sure that, I mean, that's got to be such a huge, like being able to beta test it that way and get that kind of feedback. And
Definitely. Yes. The user feedback is something that's so critical to making sure that we're addressing the pain points like head on. And it's not just about, what my experience was, even if it was the inspiration, I was just one specific example of how it can be applied, but there's so many different ways that it can be used or kind of tweaked. So I love hearing the user feedback. And that's something that I say on all of my different calls with potential partners, or even just yesterday, I was on a call with a venue who was interested to learn more about us. And the venue capacity is super interesting because those coordinators at the venue operating on such a lean team, but needing to give the guidance about their venue to their couples. So that's kind of a new segment that we have explored. And that's been really interesting.
No, that makes sense because you're going to have a venue. So
yes. So giving that feedback, and I was actually able to be in person, which was like so novel and lovely. But yes, the feedback is absolutely key.
And so when you're marketing this, not just to obviously to the brides or, I think this would be an amazing gift for a bride also, and the wedding planners, you're also now scaling it for things like venues. Do you see yourself scaling to the caterers, DJs, things like that to really have that all in one app? Or the vendor aspect, I guess.
Yeah, the vendor aspect is definitely critical in terms of relaying the critical pieces of info along the way. The majority, the thing we see most looping in the vendors relating to the timeline, day of information, things along the way where they're communicating back and forth. I wanted to make sure that it didn't feel like a burden for anyone where, I have to create one more account or I have to, sign up for one more app, but it's more like I'm getting useful information that's actionable, that is saving me time, saving me effort. It allows my teams to work more effectively. That's what I really want to hit on. So in terms of looping in the vendors, I'm sensitive to how they are interacting with the platform. So we've mainly approached it where you can easily share information from the platform with whoever you need, but those folks don't necessarily need to, sit down and create an account and get looped in to whatever degree is really helpful. So I'm very sensitive to that fact also.
Because you've been a bride. So, I mean, you're not just a founder, but you would be a user of the product. So,
yes.
If not that you're getting married again, but if or if one of your siblings or any close friends, you would want to give them this and be like, all right, but this is what I would have needed.
Totally. And actually, it's funny. The head of marketing at Plannerd is engaged in wedding planning right now. And her wedding is in August of next year. And so we talk, regularly, and she's obviously using Plannerd to plan everything. And her insights are amazing, but also as someone who is interacting with vendors in her other life outside of Plannerd, she runs a wedding photography business as well. So she has that kind of like dual perspective, but she said to me so many times, I can't believe people are doing this without Plannerd. It's very validating to hear that she's, using it and finding value. So, yeah.
Well, I was going to say 2019 was not that long ago. It wasn't like there was all of a sudden this boom of technology or that apps weren't invented or anything like that. I mean, love that you did it, but what makes you think that this took so long for someone to be like, we really need this? Do you feel like the brides are just done at the end and they're like, I'm not even we're not touching that ever again because the experience blacklisted them from it?
That's very possible. I think when I think about the landscape of the wedding industry, there's so much inspiration and so much content and so many voices relating to the beauty and the aesthetics and the expertise that goes into the planning process that sometimes, or I felt as a bride that was really the focus of the content I was digesting on social media, in publications, online. And it was not as much focused on the project management aspect of it, where it was getting into the logistics, the planning, the real kind of nitty gritty of how things come together. It was more about the beauty, the bringing together unique concepts and trends and things like that, which are inherently sexier to focus on. But in order to bring those beautiful aspects to life, it takes so much work for a year plus, sometimes 2 years or more, to bring it all together. So when I approached my wedding planning, realizing that I was experiencing this gap in my experience, I was just laying awake at night, feeling this buzz that I could help solve this problem and help allow people to have that empowering experience and to have an enjoyable journey and not just take something for granted that it's going to be frustrating. That's how it has to be. I refuse to believe it. You can have a, empowering journey. So I felt really compelled to help solve this problem based on my experience, not only as a bride, but also in the startup world prior to that.
Yeah. And you'd been in the startup world, but I mean, you've never developed an app. I mean, how many of us have ever developed an app? So how did you really create a vision to do that if you've never done it before?
Yes. I'm grateful to my experience at Carta, because even though I wasn't in a, engineering role or even a product manager role, I worked across the business so comprehensively. I worked with product managers, marketing, sales. I was in a strategic operations role, which was really kind of the glue across the organization. So being able to work with all those different people in their unique capacities, I think really prepared me to be a founder, where it's like the corniest line to say, you wear so many hats, but literally I'm doing the accounting one day and then you're, mapping out what our product focus is the next day. And so being in operations, I think, really helped me see the kind of breadth that it takes to run a business. And then being in business school, just as I was getting inspired, I think gave me a lot of confidence to kind of dive in. And I definitely had a bit of a chip on my shoulder during that process, because I was a Spanish major, journalism minor prior to coming out of school. And so I felt like, I have so much to learn. I have so much experience I need to gather. And, throwing myself into learning at Carta, becoming a senior member and leader in that organization, and then business school, it was like these big installments of confidence. And then I think also seeing people start their own businesses who were, not that special, where you think, or I thought sometimes that you had to have this special sauce to start a company, start a business, and you had to get permission to dive in. And then I saw these people giving themselves that permission to just start something. And the difference between a founder and someone who didn't do it is literally just starting, just do it. So that's the permission that I gave myself, just to dive in and see what's what.
No, but I love that. One of my favorite female founders was always Bethany Frankel. And she was like, do you have any idea how stupid my idea is? She's like, skinny girl cocktails. No one could have thought of that. She's like, 1 million people thought of that. Like, how can you not? Skinny, she's like, that is the smartest dumb idea you could ever have. And she turned it into obviously hundreds of millions of thousands in so many products and so many different things that she's done with it, all over the fact that she was just the first one to act on it. Yeah. She's like, there's no way other people didn't ever think of I should make a lower calorie cocktail and sell it directly to women and market it that way. And then when she was on some TV shows, he said it. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's so right though. Someone else so could have done this. It's not like she she didn't, cure cancer. She invented a lower calorie cocktail, but good for freaking her, because no one else was thinking of that. There was obviously a need and a trend for it. There's got to be people out there that were like, this wedding planning, that's hard. Why isn't there an app that can help us with this, or any kind of site? And just nobody's acted on it.
Yeah, I think being able to experience it, and then you get the kind of itch to solve something. And I think that's the difference between having a problem that you acknowledge and you're like, someone else needs to really get on that. Can someone come over here and help fix this? Versus the one that just, the problems that get under your skin in that next level capacity. I think that's what, if the idea is literally keeping you up at night, which it was, I was lying in bed just feeling like I need to get up right now and start to do this thing. And it was just so under my skin in the next level way, where it wasn't just something I was interested in. It was like, I just felt drawn to solve it. And it felt so familiar based on my time at Carta, where, the premise of a hub, a source of truth, bringing together people around a complex problem, but applying it to a new industry. It felt very familiar. And I think that gave me confidence as well.
I mean, I love that. And you said the product's growing, you're coming out with new developments all the time. What's your top 3 favorite features right now of the product?
Oh, great question. Let's see. We have some really cool AI related features in the mix. And I know that's such a buzzword and everyone is using it. And, if
you need to be on it. So
yes, it's relevant. It's, if you don't have AI infused, what are you doing? But anytime we're looking to put AI into the tool, I want to make sure that it's really grounded in usability and something that's intuitive and actually helpful, and not just, a buzzword or a marketing kind of thing to slap onto a feature. Yeah. But we have some really cool things coming up that will help to bridge the mobile experience and the desktop experience. Cool. And I think wedding planning is one of those things, and I'm still trying to suss out whether this is a facet of wedding planning or me being a millennial person. But there's some things being, laptop things versus phone things.
You don't do big, important things on a mobile. You do them you have to do it on a desktop or a laptop.
Right?
You have to open a computer. There's memes about that in Reels where they're like, I can't do that on my phone. That is obviously a sit down laptop moment. Like I have to open a screen and type on a full keyboard. Like I can't just buy that.
And Gen Z is absolutely pushing the boundaries of that concept, which we want to be, accepting of, and to provide options for that people who want to be on the go, or, we're all on the go, but sometimes you save certain actions to be, you're sitting and you're ready to have a whole planning session. And I think the complexity of wedding planning does lend itself towards needing to have more of, a comprehensive sit down where you're going to actually get through a number of things, or you're, sussing out your guest list or whatnot. But we have some really cool features coming up that will allow you to be on your phone, on the go. You get inspired by something, you remember a task or a to-do list item, or a guest comes to mind who you forgot, and you can easily access your planner account in order to add that, but in a very on-the-go type of capacity. So I'm very excited about that. We have a new vendor management tab coming up that will allow you to keep all of your vendor-related information in one place. So as you're kind of following the arc of research to getting someone under contract and following them, you can kind of track that all along the way. So that's a fun new tab that we have coming up. But, the goal is really to allow it to be as comprehensive as possible. So you're not context switching, you're not having to be jumping around a lot between a lot of different places, or, as much as you can. There's always going to be other things you're looking at. Yeah. But when it comes to being that source of truth, you're not chasing down details, chasing down bits of information or conversations that you had, and that your planner account can be that calming, organized place to come home to and feel like I have this under control. I know what I'm doing. My partner and I are in total lockstep in this process, and just eliminate the overwhelm feeling, eliminate the dramatic, chaotic feeling, and just be in control.
I love that though. And when you've said you're taking a lot of feedback from the brides and the users and the vendors and things like that. Is there ever any kind of feedback that you get where you're like, that is just like it's not great for the whole business as a whole? Like that's so centered just on like an individual wedding type or anything like that, where you have to really be like, that makes sense if you were going to like individualize this and this app was just for you, but not. And how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a very key piece where I definitely have to be, aware of, is this a one-off or is this representative of many people's pain point? I think something I hear a lot, not necessarily from brides, but from people who know about Plannered is, oh, well, this could be applied to all different events. And I think that's absolutely true. It can be applied, the foundational items, budget, guest list, timeline, to-do list, those are all, widely applicable. I think we want to focus on helping alleviate the unique pain points around weddings and to be really specific in addressing those pain points. So that's one that I will hear from time to time. And, the name of the company is Plannered. It's not Wedding World. So, it could be broadly applicable down the line. But for this moment, we are so keen in the wedding world that that's one where I've had to kind of be really specific about what are we addressing and what are we not addressing. And you definitely have to be aware of not being the shiny thing chasing type of founder.
Everything, yeah. Then, you have a niche.
Totally. Then you end up just doing a bunch of things and
not
you're a mile wide and an inch deep. So we want to be really specific and intentional.
No, and I love that, because if you're doing too many things, you might not be focused on what the core reason of starting this was, and then you drop a ball, and that ball could be somebody's wedding, and that's not great.
Yes, we don't want that.
Brides can be angry. I want to switch focus over to just being an unexpected founder. Like you weren't planning on doing this. Like you were in business school, you were seeing other people doing it. So did you have any uncertainty when you were like, I'm going to try this out and like see what happens?
Yes, I think I was very intentional about. Well, I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a me problem, because it was inspired by my own life and it's a problem that I saw. But I really wanted to understand, was I having a tough time, but everyone else was completely fine?
It's normal, and you're just the only one over here being like, is this just hard?
Yes, everyone else is making it look easy, but I'm having a tough time. So I spent a good amount of time determining just how chronic of a problem this was and whether it was a juicy enough thing to dig into. Because if I'm going to put my whole effort and time and energy towards something, I want to make sure that it's going to be really changing people's experience in a positive way, and to really be, something that can be truly impactful and not just a little bit helpful here and there. But, this is something you can go to and feel like you were fully supported and taken care of, and you had that much more of a positive experience. So I wanted to make sure it was meaty enough to dig into. And I was pleased to see that, not pleased to hear that people had tough experiences, but to hear those themes come up again and again of chaos, lack of organization, overwhelming feelings, feeling like, why is this so hard? And I was frustrated from the moment I started my wedding planning. I went from the highs of getting engaged to then the reality of the wedding planning aspect. So when those themes and those recurring sentiments were just, every conversation I was having with brides and grooms and wedding pros, that I realized this is truly something that I could dig into. So that was really important to me to make sure that that was like firmly established, that the market was not meeting the needs of the people. Yeah. And there was a place for us to go and really make a name for ourselves.
I mean, do you wish that you would have known some things before you started, before you were like, I'm going to do this and we're going to head right in, and like wish that there was, there's never a roadmap when you're becoming a founder, but also do you feel like you wish you knew things beforehand? Because it's not easy.
Oh, totally. Yes. I think there's always the vision that you have of what you think something is going to be, and then you're living it and it's totally different, or aspects are different. I think there's a different vibe or different lived experience to being a solo founder versus having, a larger team or being with your co-founder. I think that was something I came along the way to, reflecting about myself, that I'm more of a pack animal type person. I like to,
good to know though.
Yeah, bounce ideas around and have that camaraderie and get super excited about something, and building and collaborating as a unit is something that I feel very strongly about. And so there are definitely days, and, continue to be days where you can feel quite lonely as a solo person. And so that's why it's been really key for me to seek out advisors, team members, people who are expert in their own right in different areas that I don't have experience in, or that can help supplement different areas, and to feel like we have this team that's, working towards the same goal together, rather than just, me like out there rowing by myself. So
you're paddling a canoe by yourself, just going in circles.
Yes, totally. So I think being intentional about building a really strong team as a, being a solo founder. That was a surprise to me, that the feelings of, being out there on your own can be lonely. And the team part for me was really, really critical.
That's amazing. Do you feel like it's changed, like the experience, at least in like doing this, starting out as a solo founder? Do you feel like it has changed or developed your leadership structure and, the way that you lead in a certain way?
Absolutely. My experience at Carta as a people manager, I had, a team that I led, and there were teams that I kind of oversaw or helped scale, but it was always under the context of the broader organization. And so, you could always kind of look up to your manager and say, well, okay, well, here's what I think we should do, but what do you think we should do? And you have that kind of those layers of people who you rely on and you can fall back on for, advice, or, you're not the ultimate decision maker on something. I think being a leader and understanding that, being decisive can be something. You get 80% of the information and you have to move ahead, or even 70%, 60%. You can't wait to get 100% certainty on something before you move ahead. You have to just gather enough information and then move ahead. And you can't ask 10 different people to validate every idea that you have.
Yeah.
I think as a leader, that's been really something that I've come around to better understanding, that, the decisive decision that you can make right away with the limited but sufficient information is better than the decision you make that takes a year to make and you ask 20 people to make sure it was the best idea. So I think being okay to rely on myself for those decisions, and to say, I'm going to reflect and I'm going to take time to kind of center myself and come up with the route we're going to go, and to be, okay with trusting myself and being
trusting your instincts.
Totally.
Like they've not led you wrong so far. And when we're speaking of instincts, what are instincts saying is the future for this company? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, the wedding industry is not going anywhere.
Yes, that's true. So that's a great question. The future, I think, is just continuing to reach more and more people and being able to help serve more couples across their wedding journey. We've had such incredible momentum since the beginning of opening the doors and letting people come explore the tool and use it. Every next wedding that goes on using the tool, we learn a lot from our users. So I think just continuing to bring it to more and more couples and wedding pros to learn from them, and also to help to serve them and help alleviate the pain that they're feeling.
Yeah.
That's a big one. We have a couple big partnerships in the works that I'm very excited about that we'll have be able to be more public about in the coming months. But I think 2026 for us is going to be the year of the partnership. I think we have some really cool players in the wedding industry already who I'm excited to grow with. And, getting your name out there and being a new player in the industry can be incredibly difficult to break through. So, looking for different ways and different experiments to run and see how we can continue, showing up for our couples and helping them have a better experience. There's, we're going to do everything we can to help the people.
No, and I think that's amazing, though. Having that kind of at least plan and kind of theme for the year has to really be motivating also for the team to know that like big things are coming and they're going to be, this is what our focus is going to be. You're not spreading yourself too thin that way.
Yes, definitely. And I think at a startup, you have to have a lot of commitment and belief to the vision, and, listening to how I built this. And there's the ramp up where you're trying and trying and trying, and then you have the breakthrough moment. I think it's easy to look at that breakthrough moment and say, of course that worked because, look at the result, but there's so much unseen effort leading up to that point. And, keeping the team engaged and excited. I think I'm so grateful for my team. Everyone is so committed to the mission. And I think I'm excited for what's to come for sure.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be so amazing. And as we're wrapping up, I do like to ask all of my guests one last question. If you could give one piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
Let's see. I think staying true to yourself is the most powerful thing that you can do. I think there's so many, everyone else is taken. Be yourself. I don't know who said this quote. It's an amazing quote. I'll have to look it up after this. But I think reflecting and really understanding, what are my values? What is my character? How do I want to show up in the world? And being intentional to be true to yourself. And it's great and natural to be inspired by others and to take pieces of what you learn from different people and to incorporate it into your own life, but always thinking back to, am I being true to myself at my core? And does this sit well with me? I think is something I would tell young me to just, believe in yourself, but not believe in your core of being you as a unique person. And I think I try to show up with my team as an authentic individual person and to, not get too caught up in the lingo and the startup, vibes of circle back, loop in, all the different lingos. I think it can be, everyone can kind of converge into the same personality, to converge into being the same person. And you feel like if you don't fit in that specific definition, it can feel really exclusionary. And I think letting yourself show up uniquely as yourself and being confident and comfortable in who you are, that's what I would hope for her. And I would give that piece of advice.
I mean, I love that. But I also think what great advice if you're looking to like reset, if you're going too fast, or you're trying new things, or just as an adult, like to be able to reset and like have that, try to center yourself in that authentic self. Because sometimes I think we all get so caught up in what we're doing or caught up in the people around us, and work is 80% of our lives. So like we're so in it that a lot of times we need to take a reset to be like, all right, but who am I? And like, what am I bringing to the table and what am I doing for myself?
Definitely. That was definitely a recurring theme in grad school was, learning about your unique strengths. And I think there's a lot of focus in schools and just in culture about improving your weaknesses or, working on things that you're not good at, that you can kind of take the things that you're really strong at for granted, or that those are easy. So I really need to work on the things that I'm, struggling in. But to know yourself well enough to know that this is what I'm good at, and then surround yourself with people who can help fill in the different areas that you're not. There was a funny moment I'll just mention quickly at the beginning of this planner journey. I was talking to a friend who's a software engineer, and his suggestion was, you should really learn how to code, and you should learn how to build this yourself so that you can be intimately acquainted with how things work. And I'm not an engineer, don't have a technical background, but that was so disheartening to feel like I have to stop the momentum of the company and go learn how to do this whole thing.
And you're like, that's like a year project, buddy. Like it's not a short thing. You don't learn how to code overnight.
Yes. So I brought in an amazing team who has that skill set, and I'll bring mine, and then we can all work together towards the same goal. So,
but that's how all the amazing tech companies start. You have the tech people and the engineers, and what they want to do is create the product and work in the product. And then you have the marketing people and the HR and the business led people who are the ones that are spreading it, but they're not touching each other's stuff 99% of the time, because they're like we are subject matter experts in two very different spheres.
Totally. And that's why the startup world is so wild sometimes, where those early people are touching so many different areas of the business that you can start to feel like, why am I not good at everything? Well, if you look at more mature companies, you do start to specialize. So
right, exactly.
We're getting
there. To figure out exactly. You're going to get there. I think this is a tool that obviously so many people need and so many people are going to utilize. Like I said in the beginning, the wedding industry isn't going anywhere. So it's only going to get bigger and better. And I mean, it's like watching MTV's, My Super Sweet 16. These weddings are getting more and more extravagant all the time. So getting that kind of feedback and utilizing that, for either doing like a small and amazing, cozy, rustic wedding to those 500 people, insane weddings. Like this is going to be a tool that can go either way with the gambit.
Definitely. Yeah. Those foundational pieces of to-do list, budget, guest, all those things, no matter what you're applying it to, those foundational pieces are still there, and the logistics that come with it can still be overwhelming. So yes, broadly applicable, no matter what your event looks like, we can help support you.
I love that. Well, tell the audience, we're going to put it all in the show notes, of course, but where they can find you, plug yourself, all that jazz.
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is It's Hannah Rose, Roze. And Plannerd is Plannerd Inc., Plannerd, on both TikTok and Instagram. Just getting my TikTok legs under me, as a good millennial.
Hard.
But,
It's hard. It's rough. Trust. It is rough. And I'm always like 5 months behind a trend. And I'm like, oh, well, it'll work. It's going to be fine.
Yes. Be true to yourself. That's what we need to do.
Just like, I'm just trying really hard here, guys. I'm just swiping, looking at, productive days and videos on animals reuniting. So that's what makes me happy. And my algorithm's great. But I think this is going to be an amazing product that's going to really, test the stands of time because of everything that's going on and with the wedding world and just event world in general. And I'm just so happy you got to come on and talk about it and, being a accidental founder. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rachael. It was so great to chat, and I'm excited to keep in touch as both of our journeys evolve.
Absolutely. No, for sure. Everyone, thank you so much. Make sure to check out Plannerd, and we will see everybody next week.